Okay, so this is the core content of the course. Now, when you do the course, you need to learn the micro elements, basically. And once you learn those elements, you can then look at all different kinds of media and analyze it. So we look at media language, we look at representation, we look at industries, we look at audiences, and we look at context. So with media language, we look at things like mise-en-scene, cinematography, editing, and we look at how all these things create meaning from an image. So how something is framed, how something is lit. And then we look at representation. So what's going on in the frame? What's the person look like? What is the person doing? How does that represent that person through the camera work, through the lighting? And then we look at the industry. What has created that image? What part of the industry is it? Is it print-based? Is it moving image? Okay, and then we look at the audience. Who's going to watch this? Who's going to see this? Why is this being created? And then we look at the context. Okay, so where is it going to be placed? Who's going to see it? Is it going to be on the London Underground? And what is the purpose of the advert? Why have the producers produced this? Okay, whether it's a film, an advert, anything like that. So if we move on to the next slide, please, Gareth. Okay, so this is a breakdown of the course. Now, during the first year, you're going to be doing component 1. Second year, you're going to be doing component 2. And between both years, you're going to be working on the coursework. And I'm going to bring Gareth in a moment to talk about the coursework with you. But I'm just going to talk a little bit about component 1. Now, obviously, I don't want to go into component 2 at this early stage because that's next year, and we can talk about that when you join us in September. So basically, component 1 it's a 2 hour 15-minute exam, 35% of the A level. Okay, and you're going to do section A and you're going to be doing section B. Now, section A is basically talking about representation and media language. So with that, we look at advertisements, we look at music videos, and you look at how images are constructed in order to basically appeal to a certain target audience. And then we look at section B, which is basically understanding the media industries and audiences. So why are these things created and who do they appeal to, is that question. So I mean, as an example, say for section A, you might get a question like this. This was one produced last year. So the student got to see a film clip. It was an advert for a sports advert called the Girl Can campaign. And this is the question they got. Explore how the combination of elements of media language influences meaning in this Girl Can advertisement. So after watching that, you'll then use all the knowledge you've got of the micro elements to analyze the clip. Okay, so now I'm going to hand over to Gareth so he can talk you through the coursework.
Okay, so the coursework element is basically what you'll be doing is you'll be creating a website and a DVD film campaign. So the idea is that you'd come up with a film idea, and it could be an independent film, it could be a film for a certain age group, and we get released the coursework element next year, and it will tie in with film or a music video or a newspaper article or something like that. Now, what we've done this year is, and I'll be showing you some examples shortly, is we've been creating a film, and for that film that the students created, they create a DVD cover, a movie poster, and a cross-platform element, which is the website. So the website promotes the film, and the product is the DVD, and the poster is the advert. So that's part of the practical element of the coursework. So in terms of the exam, you'll do the exam, and then that will be the practical element, and you'll use industry standard software, Adobe Photoshop for that. You'll go out with cameras, and you'll at this stage in your media careers, you'll understand, after being with us for a few months, how to frame a shot, how NVC, non-verbal communication, works in signifying audiences, and all these little ingredients that you can all put together to create a professional level product. And this year, the students created coursework that was really indistinguishable from a professional product that's available online. That ties us in with the exam, because if you study a Beyonce music video, then you're understanding the nonverbal communication of how Beyonce is attracting audiences, and how the director of the music video is creating a certain meaning for that audience. Okay, so this ties in with Dizzy Rascal, where we look at how Dizzy Rascal uses an intertextual reference from a 1950s children's TV show, and then imports that iconography into his mainstream music video to appeal to a wider audience. So once you start delving into media analysis, you can get a real good understanding of how, as soon as you wake up in the morning, you look at your mobile phone, you're bombarded with media. You've got a Twitter feed, you've got a Facebook feed, you've got the news on your phone. You walk to college, or you're on the bus and you'll see an advert on the side of a bus, or you'll see a movie poster on an online magazine. And all this media that you're bombarded with, studying A-level media with me and Ian will give you that grounding where you can analyse and make your own judgments of how, as an audience, we are being manipulated, sold to, and bombarded with certain kind of ideologies throughout. So if we move on to the next slide, of course, media changes over time. And if you look at the Tide advert on the left of the screen there, you can see that that's an advert from the 1950s. And we look through adverts from the 1950s right the way through up to the present day, and there's probably a few that you can already see in there, like the Go Compare and the comparethemarket.com, and there's a gorilla there playing the drums. We all know that's a really famous advert for Cadbury's chocolate. So and if you haven't seen that video, go onto YouTube after this and then Google the gorilla playing the drums. It's the Phil Collins drum fill. It's a really interesting advert, and how they use an intertextual reference from a current pop song and tie that in with selling a chocolate bar. Okay, so it's media is a very interesting platform to study, because it gives you not only a knowledge about media products, but it gives you knowledge about society and culture, and how we work our ways through our lives as consumers of these media texts. And then obviously we look at newspapers. These are very important. Each one has an agenda, a political agenda, whether right-wing, left-wing, centrist. Obviously, I think the majority of young people now have got Twitter on their mobile phone, and Facebook, and Donald Trump, we all know, tweets in real time. So it's a very interesting area to look at. Now, politics and news can be used by certain political parties to create an agenda, and it's up to us as an audience to analyse these and work out whether we can align ourselves to the ideology of that news story, or we can object to it and see that, are we being manipulated by the news? So it's all very sort of an interesting wide scope of analysis. So as we move through there, we can see I, Daniel Blake. So this ties in with independent British cinema. And then you look at Straight Outta Compton, which is American cinema, and how that was marketed with Dr. Dre and the Beats headphones, and how they tie celebrity endorsement into marketing influence in film. And also there you've got Hollywood, the Hollywood blockbuster, and what makes the Hollywood blockbuster. Okay, so there's lots of things to talk about. And then the next phase of the exam is we look at the gaming industry. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of gamers out there. and we can see here we've got Assassin's Creed, and we look what's interesting about Assassin's Creed. Now, from straight off, we can see that the central character is a female, which subverts the general convention of the hero of a typical computer game. Started off with Lara Croft and Tomb Raider, and then it's moved on through that influence through Assassin's Creed, and we look at what makes Assassin's Creed an interesting game from an audience perspective. Okay, so that's industry and audience. Okay, so if we move on here, then we can see we look at Radio 4 and industry and audience, and what are these programs trying to get across. For example, the term niche is a niche audience is a narrow audience with a specific interest, and that's what late night's woman's hour's about. And then you've got The Archers, which is a social drama set in the countryside with farmers. I know you're all out there avid listeners to The Archers on Radio 4. I'm joking, probably. You're probably not, but give it a whirl. It's incredibly entertaining. But all these things that you'll get to do, if you've not listened to Radio 4, you will on the media course, and understand how Radio 1, Radio 4, Radio 2 all differ in terms of their content, all driven by their audience base. Okay, so
did you want me to talk about the coursework?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll give you a little break there in terms of the coursework. Now, the coursework it's very practical, and once you finish the course, hopefully you'll have knowledge of industry standard software. So we're going to be using Photoshop. Some of you might have used it before, and if you haven't, don't worry, we go from beginner right up to advanced. And we're going to be using, what website program do we currently use, G?
We're going to be using the online Wix editor, because that allows you to create a very professional result in a very short space of time. Now, in the media industry, deadlines are key. You have to be able to work to deadlines. So that's why we use this software, because the industry uses that software.
Yeah, so you'll create a print-based poster, you'll create a Blu-ray box, and you'll create a website. And we're going to show you some examples in a minute of some of the work the students have done, and you can see they're almost professional standard, really. So when you leave us and you go to university, you'll have the skills to be able to produce outstanding work. So this is a poster one of our students created this year. This got a grade A, and you can see, looking at it, it's pretty impressive the way he's used colour grading, and obviously he's manipulated the image to make it look black and white. And obviously you have to go out and get the images yourself, and then when you bring them back, we show you how to use Photoshop, where you can merge images, add text, add colour gradients, even add things which are in the image. So you could add dust to it and scratches, or you could add an explosion or anything like that. So it's all down to your imagination, really, and we're there to support you to get the best you can out of the coursework. So here we've got a Blu-ray box or a DVD box. Do you have anything to say about that one, Gareth?
Yeah, so the idea in here is the poster and the Blu-ray or DVD box has got to have a certain kind of brand identity. And if I just go back to that poster, you can see there that it's using the same font and the same colour scheme. If I go back to the DVD cover, the branding's the same. So this is a product that you can clearly identify, and obviously you've got the different clips from the actual film. Now that the students and yourselves who are going to enroll in September will actually film a movie, but you'll just take the shots, the still shots from scenes from the film that you've created. In this case, it's called Outdone, and then show little snippets to entice the audience. So if this was in an online rental shop, or in a music store or anything else like that, or the campaign was online, then you'd be able to look at this and go, oh, I've looked at this poster and this cover, and that looks interesting. What's it about? I'll have to watch the film to find out what it's all about. So if we move on to another one, so here's another one. So here's this is like horror in terms of, and obviously I'm not too sure whether you're aware of the film It, but this is like an intertextual reference from the clowns in horror kind of thing. So this was an intertextual reference is just referencing another text, so we can see through the facial expression of this character that he's not quite right. There's something that we need to find out about this character, and then that ties in with the DVD cover here.
Yeah, can I talk about this one in terms of, because I remember helping the student with this one, and I know the student was very heavily influenced by the Joker movie as well as it. So you're exactly right what you say there, G. There's intertextual references. So when you're coming up with a film idea, you probably will go on the internet and you look at posters to some of your favourite films. Now, this student loved the Joker movie, so she obviously was very influenced by that. And you can see here, it's not that complicated to create almost professional looking posters. So she would have looked at the posters to the Joker and then gone down that path of how can I create my poster which is very similar to the Joker film. So you've got to really sell this film to the audience, and the film doesn't exist, but I can look at that box there and I can feel like I know what the film's going to be about, and to me that film does exist. So that's when you know you've achieved a great piece of coursework, when someone looks at it and thinks, oh, I want to see that. And that's what we try and achieve every time, really.
That's great. So this is just so feel free to post any questions that you've got for me and Ian to answer if you've got any other questions about the coursework or the course itself. But this is basically just a snapshot of year one. So when you enroll in September, this is what you'll be doing. So obviously media, language, industry and audiences, like I've talked about, music videos, the Beyonce, Dizzy Rascal, advertising, the Tide advert, Go Compare, video games, Assassin's Creed, radio. You've got Radio 4, The Archers, and Late Night Woman's Hour. And then you've got film marketing with the I, Daniel Blake, and the Straight Outta Compton text. And then obviously that then ties in with all that knowledge. Then you go then and create your coursework. And then the final part of the term, you'll be studying the newspapers aspect in terms of how they have a political agenda and what they're trying to represent.